Well, now that I've exhausted the numerous movie-licensed Batman games, not counting those available on Master System and Game Gear, it's high time I set my sights on the adventures of Batman and Robin, based on the 4-time Emmy Award-winning series of the same name. The opening cutscene really grabs you by the cojones and demands your attention. The striking visuals in conjunction with Jesper Kid's tension-laced electro suck you into this hard-hitting run-and-gun adventure. As for the game itself, you can go solo with either Batman or Robin, or, better yet, invite a friend for good old-fashioned multiplayer hijinks. Like Batman Forever on Genesis, their play styles are equal to one another, so don't choose Robin thinking he'll be any faster than Batman. One might call this lazy, though I really don't care. I mean, who's gonna choose Robin anyway? Even if the developers bless the boy Wonder with 3 extra lives, an additional health bar, and a chick magnet, we're still gonna choose the Dark Knight. BNR is very pick up and play. You beat up a plethora of palette-swapped goons as you run from one end to the next, survive a brief endurance round, carry on, then confront a final boss. There are 4 levels in all, each one only 4 to 6 stages in length. Thankfully, there are a few stages during Two-Face's level where you take to the air on a Batwing, or glider if you will. It reminds me of Batman, the video game, also on Genesis, which isn't a bad thing. As for the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, there are close-range melee attacks, but from afar, it's all about throwing weapons. You start out with batarangs, though you can switch them out whenever you collect one of these power-ups. Green will give you bolas, while blue gives you throwing stars. Collect more power-ups of the corresponding color to increase your desired weapon's efficiency. There's infinite ammo here, but don't get too excited. Your weapon has an energy bar. When it's fully charged, a single projectile inflicts far more damage than rapidly tapping away like an adolescent sociopath hopped up on Kool-Aid. If you really want to survive these mean streets, you gotta play smarter, not harder. Okay, that's not entirely true. You gotta play hard here. BNR doesn't have a difficulty setting, so there's no choice but to brave the storm. There are 3 lives, and you only get 6 continues at the start. Mike Watts, a member of SEGA Retro Gamers on Facebook, has stated that this game is, and I quote, harder than Frozen Piss. I'll admit, that's fairly accurate. Now, I know many gamers that haven't been able to beat the first stage, let alone an entire level. Some have even gone so far as to compare it to Contra Hardcore. I'm sorry, but I have to call bullshit on that. Really, if the adventures of Batman and Robin is harder than Frozen Piss, Hardcore is even harder than trying to take that very same piss while performing a handstand on a speedboat going down a waterfall singing Danger Zone. Sounds like an episode of Archer, actually. Still, this game may as well be a tall glass of frozen piss resting on broken glass. The first level's challenging enough, where you take on Harley Quinn and Mr. J. This is a tough stage, but you'll be wishing it lasted a bit longer once you see what lies ahead. The Adventures of Batman and Robin is definitely one of the more difficult games I've ever played, though it happens to be one of the best. You will die many times replaying those first few stages over and over again, though you will endure. Your thumbs may hate you for it, but that's the point of Batman and Robin. If you want to be the Dark Knight and overcome almost insurmountable odds, then you gotta take the hits. Only when Mr. Freeze and his cronies are ashes, then you will have the game's permission to quit. The Adventures of Batman and Robin on SEGA CD is an entirely different game. Hey, this looks a lot like Batman Returns on SEGA CD, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a driving game where you race from one crime scene to the next in the Batmobile or Batwing, dodging civilians, avoiding obstacles, and destroying enemies with an infinite supply of missiles. Hallelujah. Seeing as how this is the entire game, not a simple expansion of the cartridge release, the levels are far more complex and challenging when compared to those found in Batman Returns. Again, I stress that this is not an updated version of the Genesis title. Though both were developed by Clockwork Tortoise, they're totally different games. From what I can tell, nothing has been recycled. Hell, even the story is original. One of the highlights, aside from the wicked gameplay, are the cutscenes. In addition to moving the story forward, they're a real treat for surviving a stage. Even better, they feature the original cast, making this a must-own for series fans.
The guy's been a thorn in your side for some time.
The gameplay is simple and straightforward, so there isn't much to say. Visually, it's one of the best looking games on SEGA CD, demonstrating the same dazzling effects we had seen previously in Batman Returns. The difficulty is balanced and fair, so there's no complaints there. However, be warned, it will put your reflexes to the test. That being said, I feel this one's a tad easier than the Genesis game. Even with the nagging time limit, I never found myself tugging hopelessly at my receding hairline. My only complaints would be that the first stage is incredibly tedious and there's no multiplayer, meaning I can't torture Mickey Mac with this one. Otherwise, it's a damn fine game. Personally, I feel both titles are worth owning, whether you're a fan of the series or not. Really, they're incredibly fun and challenging games worthy of any hardcore gamer's time.
Virtual reality games are the wave of the future, Batman, and they're about to make you history.